Well, good morning, everyone. Or those of you who will join me, those of you who will decide to join me. It is a Friday morning, and I know there are a lot of content creators who are up and running right now, and this is a smaller channel, so uh, you have lots to choose from. Uh, Today is my schedule was rejiggered this week so that today is my day off for my 9 to 5. So this is going to be a double header for me. So I'm going to do something here, and then I'm going to do something over on my science and technology channel. Sheed, what's going on? We here. We here. Okay. So for the new people, if the algorithm brought you here, if someone shares this right now, I am eight subs away from 1,700. So if you're new and if something here is compelling, that if there's something I say or share that's compelling, and you think you might want to come back, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It would mean a lot for me to get to 1,700. I'm going to continue to rock on, even if I don't get there immediately, but please hit that subscribe button. YouTube is funny. You see your subscriber number go up, and then sometimes it bleeds down, and you don't know if people are just getting frustrated and unsubscribing, or if the algorithm is doing that. Some people think that YouTube, the people running YouTube, there's a spigot, or there's a button they can push that can exponentially increase your number of subscribers, and there's a button they can push that will suppress the number of subscribers you get. I don't work at Google. I don't know. So I don't know. Only someone from Google would know. Guys, the super chat is live. If you want to super chat me something, you can do that. I think there'll be lots to say with the piece I'm going to read. It's a short piece, but you can also make a donation via Cash App and PayPal. I'm going to play the intro right now, and then on the other side, I'm going to hop in to today's topic, and then I will hop off because today is a double header. So I'm going to do something here, and then I'm going to do something over on my science and technology channel regarding whether or not we're going to need face masks again, because it's cold season. We got the bug, the sea bug. I won't say the name. We have influenza. So the question is, are we going to need to wear masks again? But today we're going to talk about. I'm going to stick with the theme of a changing world and a changing society. Really, Chris? Well, A. Wilson's Ghost. Peace. Thank you for being here. Really, Chris? Always great to see you. Hope you're having a good holiday season wherever you are. I'm going to play my jazz intro, which I'm going to update over the Christmas break, and then I will jump in on the other side. All right. I'll see you soon. All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to those of you who are here and hung on during the intro. I was thinking about doing the stream last night, but sometimes things shake out in such a way that you know it's better to do it the next day after you've gotten some rest. So today's stream, this stream is entitled "An Essay from ScoonTV: A Father's Advice for Dating in Modern Times." We're gonna get to that eventually. Well, I think well, I'm gonna use my book project as a jumping off point. I had Ron Wills on about 2 weeks ago. Wasn't last week. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. And one of the things, well, we talked about a lot of things, but one of the things Ron said, he said, "Well, you're not an aspiring author. You're an author." So I haven't published the first book yet, but I want to get there. But one of the things me and Ron talked about, or should I say, a point that I made, is that writers are like weathermen and weatherwomen. So whether they are directly addressing a topic, um, or they're writing fiction or nonfiction, they're usually commenting on what's happening in their world at that time. All right, everyone, I'm back. You're still there? Can you see me? Say something in the chat. I got my three antenna thing there, and then StreamYard disconnected, and then StreamYard went blank. If you're still there, if someone's still there, let me know and I'll continue where I left off. I apologize. That was not my doing. I have a okay, Al. Thank you. Thank you to those of you who hung on. I have my hard connection here. I don't know why that happened, but fortunately, I am back. All right, so let me go back to my jumping off point. I was about to log in here on my phone. All right. Me and Ron Wills, we were talking about authorship, self-publishing, but we started talking about uh, the changing world and a changing world before we got into um, self-publishing and authorship. So we talked about automation, we talked about gender roles, we talked about changed social mores and values. And so my book project, and Ram said, "You're not an aspiring author, you're an author." Part of one of the sub themes of my book project, and I'm not going to spend a long time on this right now, is that as I go through this journey, learning the game of basketball, looking back, I realized that there were few or no men around in my immediate social circle, and who's in your life at that time and who's around, that matters, especially when learning to play a competitive sport like the great game of basketball. So I very much would have benefited from. My father was a baseball player, but I would have benefited from the knowledge and expertises of my uncles who were all sports guys. So having, especially as a young man, having men around matters. Okay. So in a lot of households, we know that now that has changed. In many households, depending upon which social class you're in, there aren't a lot of men around. And there's also something going on now with men working, prime age men. That's what they call it. So I'm waiting uh, Today, Amazon's going to deliver this to me. My nose will be buried in this book over the holiday season. I've mentioned this gentleman quite a bit here on my YouTube channel, and I'd like to interview him sometime soon after I read this book. This is written by Nicholas Eberstadt. from AEI, that's the American Education Institute, I believe. But he wrote this book. It's called Men Without Work. So for a long time, there's been a growing trend of young prime aged men who have opted out of the workforce. And so then the question is why? So Mr. Eberstadt has devoted his this stage of his career to studying this. I'm going to read this, and I'd like to interview him. But so then the question is why? Why have so many young men opted out of the workforce, and why are they not um, seeking employment? There are a number of jobs. There are lots of uh, job openings, but there's this critical mass of younger men who have no desire to go work. And interestingly, if you watch Mr. Eberstadt's most recent discussions and symposiums here on YouTube, there's a growing number of women who don't want to work anymore today. So this is something I'm keeping my eye on. I want to interview this guy, and I'm going to read this over. I'm going to read this over the holiday season. I hear it's a short read. Before I jump into the Curtis Schoon article, I'm going to hop over to Twitter, and I'm going to show you guys something from Twitter. Kareen's here. Chris is here. Tutriv, thank you for stopping through. Kareen, thank you for stopping through. She says, good morning, everyone. Happy holidays. Kareen, are you bummed out to hear about Henry Cavill not playing Superman anymore? I'm a little bummed out about that, but that's a different topic for a different day. So this is over on Twitter. And many would argue that Twitter does more harm than good based upon the mass amounts of information being shared, not being able to fact check everything, and just the ability for random thoughts and ideas to gain traction with the simple touch of a retweet button. So, but I think I think Twitter does have some positive uses, and there are some meaningful things that are shared over there in addition to all the bad that's over there. So I saw something interesting the other day. Someone tweeted this, and you never know what's going to get you in hot water today. This might get me in hot water for sharing this, but this gentleman says, let me cover his name up. He didn't ask to be, yeah. This says, if a normal American from 15 years ago woke up from a coma today, they wouldn't recognize this place. The rate of change we've undergone is staggering. So as I was looking at that, I don't know if I would have written a normal person from 15 years ago. I might have just written a person from 15 years ago. If an American from 15 years ago woke up from a coma today, they wouldn't recognize this place. The rate of change we've undergone is staggering. But there are a lot of people who are looking around at societal trends, what's happening to the youth, the changing demographics of the country, the changed social norms and social mores, and they're saying, "What is going on here? I don't recognize this place. What's happening to our country and to our world?" And around the holiday season, when you're around the table with elders from the boomer generation and what's left of the silent generation, these things come up. This is not, this looks very, very different than when we were your age. There are fewer young people, there are fewer little people around the house. Um, these things come up around the holiday season when everybody gathers. So I'm going to read this article. This is a short one. Kareen says, the tech along is crazy. What does that mean? You mean the automation? Do you mean the social media, all the algorithms? What do you mean by that? I want to interview a gentleman named Dr. Patrick Dix over on my STEM channel. He is on with Erica Williams. I'd like to interview Erica too, but he's on with Erica pretty regularly. And I was watching their live stream yesterday at work, and apparently this automation is going to come and blow most people over if they're not prepared for it. So just a lot of changes. Everyone, if you're new, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. If you want to super chat me something, I'm certain you guys are going to have opinions once I read this article. You could super chat me, and you can also make a donation via Cash App or PayPal. Kareen says, I understand the normal part because 15 years ago, people who studied sociology, etc., were warning about these changes. Okay, yeah, I was in the hard sciences and the STEMs, so we weren't looking at all this. I was at a workbench, so yeah. So she says social media, phones, cars, tech, and Google. Good morning, Dr. Dunbar Aquateki. Thank you for being here. I'm doing something more on my STEM channel after this, probably around 12 or 12:30, depending upon when I finish up. Okay, this article. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Curtis Schoon. He's on Twitter. He was on YouTube, but I think, and he started his own platform. It's called ScoonTV, and I actually wrote one piece for ScoonTV. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it's still live. So I wrote this. He has his own independent platform, and he's very big on independent media. And I think independent media is important as well because I don't think we can trust our mainstream news outlets to tell us the truth 100% of the time anymore. So there are a lot of, if you look around, you see a lot of independent media sites popping up. I wrote this about 2 years ago on Curtis's platform. This, with my science background, he asked me to write something about skepticism over the jab. So I wrote this. And I think this was one of the first. This was shortly after he started ScoonTV. So if you want to read this, I'm sure you all are tired of hearing about the jab at this point. But this is here. But I first discovered him on Twitter. He had and I liked his unapologetic, masculine, tell it like it is tweets. A lot of people might be offended by some of the things that he tweets. I don't retweet everything I see now, so sometimes I just kind of look and I watch. And he actually partnered with Jason Whitlock, and I think they fell out for some reason. But he started his own platform. It's called ScoonTV. And I'm going to read this piece. This one he did not put behind a paywall, so you all can access it too if you want to. So this one is entitled, and again, the theme is I'm continuing the theme of a changing world and a changing society, changing social mores, changing values, and just how things have been altered from 50 to 60, even 100 years ago. And I don't think Curtis will mind me reading this because he didn't put this behind a paywall. And this gives more exposure to his platform. So this is the ScoonTV website. I believe that's the byline. Is that what it's called? The byline. It says the truth may be an offense, but it is never a sin. The truth may be an offense, but it is never a sin. So this is an opinion piece written by one of his contributors. If you haven't, please hit that like button. And I will stop when you're reading pieces. You need to stop at some point. I'll stop, hydrate, take a look at what you guys are saying. Please keep it civil there. Um, I want to leave this up, so please keep it cool, keep it civil. But I thought there were some interesting things in here. For people who have never heard of these concepts, some of this might shock you and might be a little bit offensive, but if you're in the digital spaces, you've heard most of this before. Okay, this is entitled A Father's Advice for Dating in Modern Times. And this is, I think this is directed at both, yeah, it's directed at both young men and young women. Initially, when I saw it, I thought it was just directed at women, but it's directed at both genders. Okay. This was posted on December 3rd at 12:16 a.m. And it was written by Sean Smith. I don't, there's not a picture of him, so I'm assuming he's melanated with a name like Sean Smith. I'm assuming he's melanated. Editor's note: the opinions expressed here are those of the authors. View more opinion pieces on ScoonTV at this link. And everyone, this link is below in the description box. Okay. I don't remember dating being this hard when I was 21. Thanks to modern technology, the redefining of acceptable social norms, and the sexual revolution, today's men and women have been led by the nose into the twilight zone of relationships. The need for human companionship and the biological drive for the passing on of genes is being bred out of millennials and Gen Z. Going forward, family and friends need to take a more vested interest in their adult children's ability to be competitive in the dating market and help them find a person with whom to form communal bonds of matrimony. I have created some simple rules based on first hand experience and a broad range of topics that have dominated the dating landscape for decades. That first part right there, the need for human companionship and the biological drive for passing on of genes is being bred out of millennials and Gen Z. So a couple of weeks ago, Senator Chuck Schumer, flanked by that was Vice President Kamala Harris's successor to her Senate seat. They were standing. He was standing behind a podium with flanked by a bunch of Hispanics. Senator Chuck Schumer came out and said the population of this country is having a hard time reproducing itself, so we need immigrants to come here. So immigrants, that's in essence what the immigration is about. It's about economics. It's about the government. It's about the economy. The economy needs bodies. The government needs bodies. The government needs tax dollars. The roads have to be paved and maintained. The bridges have to be maintained. We need people to work in our service industry jobs. Um, Younger people will be needed to do certain things. So if the desire for the homegrown population to reproduce and pass on their genes has been removed, then those bodies have to come from somewhere. And right now, our political class is seeing South America as a place from which to get those new bodies. Now, the one thing that disappointed me, and I'm glad Senator Schumer came out and said that, but he didn't say this part, which is that the desire to do that has been bred out of our homegrown population. So that's significant. You guys let me know what you think in the chat there. Brookings Institute scholars Ron Haskins and Isabel Sawhill coined the phrase the success sequence after writing a book, Creating an Opportunity Society. The success sequence outlined 3 points. Okay, this is gonna offend some people if you haven't heard this before. Um, get at least a high school diploma, work full time, Okay, this is going to offend somebody. And marry before having children. If you follow these points in that order, you had an over 70% chance of avoiding poverty. Some of that is similar to what Dr. Walter E. Williams described for avoiding poverty. I think he had 4 points. I don't have them queued up and ready to go right now, but there's overlap there with what the late Dr. Walter E. Williams, um, recommended for avoiding poverty. The most important, the most important factor among those three things is getting married before attempting to raise children. Although teen birth rates have declined as of 2019, minority parentheses Black and Hispanic teen pregnancy rates surpassed 25 per 1,000, 5 times higher than that of Asian American and Pacific Islanders, which are 4 per 1,000. Avoiding teen pregnancy isn't as hard as we are being led to believe. There is an over promotion of contraception and abortion as solutions touted by health experts and others. They easily exclude personal responsibility for sexual behavior. In less well to do communities, abortion advertisements can be seen on billboards. I think this has more to do with elites thinking that poor people lack inhibition. Conversely, in 2018, AAPI, a group that has the lowest rates of teen pregnancy compared to all ethnic groups, was targeted by some media outlets as a community suffering from limited access to sexual and reproductive freedom. It's dastardly for subversive agents to advocate for a lifestyle of sexual irresponsibility, i.e., hookup culture. Gonna hydrate here. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the chat. If you haven't, please hit that like button. Likes help with the engagement, and likes are free. All right. Culturally speaking, this is one of those times when if it isn't broken, don't fix it. In 2020, just over 50% of single mothers had never been married. Their median income was less than half that of married couples, and they comprised the majority of beneficiaries of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. A great senior leader from my military days used to tell both men and women before departing on a long weekend, don't just let a man make a deposit in your safety box, and don't be a random deposit in some woman's deposit box. Before the advent of dating apps, the dating scene had spiraled into the hookup culture, but now it has become more pervasive. According to a 2017 Singles in America poll, 48% of millennials are more likely to have sex before a first date. Sex on the first date is customary, given how many articles exist covering the topic. Further studies suggest that the majority of millennials and Gen Z have used dating apps to have casual sexual encounters. The word situationship, introduced in the earlier part of this decade, is sometimes synonymous with hookup. Although both words invoke the same meaning, casual sex with an associate, situationship attempts to provide context as if there is a possibility of a lasting relationship. This pathology is indicative of the newest conversation making the rounds throughout social media, the body count. Okay, for the people who've never heard this, this might be shocking, this might be offensive. This is this is If you're in specific digital spaces, you've heard these words before, but these are things that people are talking about, and this is a part of modern culture. So again, writers are weathermen, and whether they're directly writing on a topic, they're usually talking about the current times and what's happening in the current world. So this is happening in the current world. Um, Kareen says this is a little while ago, and then I'm going to read Aquatechi's comment. She says, I'm not on Twitter. Uh, I am addicted to YouTube and Instagram, so I can't with another social media platform. I deleted Facebook in 2018. I saw how destructive it was to my family. Kareen, if you're still there, can you expound upon that in terms of why you deleted Facebook and why it became destructive to your family? I'm very curious about that. I'm very um, cautious about using Facebook these days myself, though I'm still on. Aquateki says millennials and Gen Zs could also be assessing the current social, political, and economic climate and asking themselves, why would I bring children into this world? That, yeah, that's a common theme that has come up in why why so many young men are opting for vasectomies. There's a fear over uh, climate change and whether or not the world will be here in another 10 years. So a lot of people share that sentiment. Why would I bring a child into this world? And actually, someone close to me, actually, this is an older, yeah, someone older, a female who had her children. She said that I wouldn't bring children into this world today. So that's true. That's happening. That sentiment is happening. Okay. Corinne, if you're still there, yeah, tell me about why you deleted Facebook. Does it matter? And this is going to be a sensitive topic for some people. This might offend some people. Does it matter how many sexual encounters your partner has had? Yes. This isn't some gendered double standard answer. Yes, ladies, men still value purity. No one wants to marry the town bicycle. Yes, gentlemen, ladies don't want to worry about their significant other keeping their dating profile active while in a relationship. More importantly, with high risk sexual behavior, there is an increased risk of contracting sexually transmitted diseases. Some sociologists even claim that having numerous sex partners before matrimony could negatively impact the quality and stability of marriage. Does marriage even matter anymore today? And I think that's an important question to ask as well. If so, why? If not, why not? Another often evoked data point in body count and app dialogue is the claim that 80% of women on dating apps are choosing only the top 20% of attractive men. In a widely cited study, a 2015 Tinder user employed a sample size of 27 women to rate the attractiveness of men. For context, in 2016, Tinder had over 25 million registered users. Moreover, no information was provided on the attractiveness of the women. In my personal experience, women who rank in the 8 out of 10 and above range tend to lean toward men on the more attractive side. There are exceptions to the rule, like Heidi Klum and Seal, no offense in parentheses, or Beyonce and Jay-Z. Again, no offense. I guess Jay-Z is not considered an attractive man. I don't look at men, so I guess he's not considered an attractive man. Ladies in the chat, let me know if Jay-Z's not considered an attractive man. So I guess being a billionaire can make you very, very attractive. This is when the hypergamous nature is on display. However, Given the rate at which millennials and Gen Z report having sexual encounters, the numbers just don't add up. But to say this Tinder study leaves much to be desired is an understatement. Wow, there are no comments in the chat. You guys must be entranced by what I'm saying. If you haven't, please hit that like button. Online dating has created a space for young adults to engage in no strings attached relationships that don't end in worthwhile companionship. Recent studies suggest that marriages formed as a result of dating apps are more likely to end in divorce. Sociology department members from the universities of Stanford and New Mexico likely discovered the vacuum created by online dating. An article published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2019 states the traditional system of dating mediated by friends and family has long been theorized to be optimal for mate selection. The family system is historically predicated in part on catalyzing and promoting the most socially acceptable mating outcomes for the younger generation. Meeting through friends and family provided guarantees that any potential partner had been personally vetted and vouched for by trusted uh, alters. So, right there, what does that make you think of? It makes me think of Michael Corleone and Apollonia in the first Godfather movie. So, if you watch the first Godfather movie, and you should watch it because it's a classic, Michael has to flee the United States and he goes over to Sicily. I believe it's Sicily. I think that's where the Corleones are from. And he meets Apollonia, but the family had to vet Michael first. So there were a number of scenes where Michael had to spend time not just with Apollonia, but also with the family. And the family had to get to know him first. So, what this is trying to say is that years ago, I think when we had more distinct villages and communities and families grew up around each other, I think that's how people used to meet and pair off. I think the parents used to have more say and more impact in that process. And in some instances, parents actually got together and said, "Hey, I have a son, I have a daughter. We should, our son and our daughter should get together." And I was even told in high class, more bourgeoisie, black um, stratas. That's what Jack and Jill is for. So those kids from similar families can pair off and get together amongst each other. But today, especially if you move away to another city, people are picking individually, and people are picking based upon looks and picking based upon swagger and picking based upon other things uh, that parents might have picked and elders might have picked, and that's arguably uh, a role of the church classically was that ideally if you're in a church, you'll be around like-minded similar people. So what this article is trying to say is that a lot of those controls and safeties, and I'll use the word guardrails, have fallen away, giving rise to this individual picking type paradigm. So I apologize if I stumbled and walked around through that, but you guys are still here. Please hit that like button if you haven't. The likes are free. The super chat is live. If you want to donate something to the channel, that information is here. Okay, this is almost done. the modern adults the modern adult seldom dates with a purpose or seeks marriage as the end state. With the elimination of the previous social culture, i.e., family and friends, as date finders, the cycle of serial dating will continue. With that said, it's no surprise the US marriage rate is declining. This may have something to do with the ease with which anyone can access sex, the erosion of religious beliefs, and over reliance on government assistance. Marriage as we know it must be resuscitated and focused on the 25 and under demographic. Okay. This part right here is probably gonna it's probably gonna offend somebody too. So just FYI. The more incentive for getting married, I'm sorry, there is more incentive for getting married at an earlier age. At the top of the list, it's difficult to merge two very independent lives into one. If you have ever seen people in their 30s well into careers attempt to drag baggage out of wedlock children, fall into that category, into a relationship, you'll know it often isn't pretty. Forming a union earlier lets you grow together as a couple and become more flexible during major life decisions. So, as I came of age, the boomers were telling us to get married later. Okay, worry about all that stuff after your late 20s, after you finish your education. Worry about all that stuff later. So the argument could be made that the subsequent generations were told the wrong things. Okay, and then there are other content creators whose names I won't mention because just mention of those names will get you in trouble. Have said this that these are things that should not be waited on until later. They should be done earlier in life as opposed to waiting and waiting and waiting. And this something in the subsequent paragraphs is going to offend somebody. Just again, it's just to warn you all out there. But that point about dragging baggage in your 30s and beyond, one of my best friends, his aunt, I remember, I think I was either, I think I was in the middle of my undergraduate studies at Johnson C. Smith University. I went to an HBCU. HBCUs are in the news today for numerous reasons, one Deion Sanders being one. But I remember my Aunt Rochelle said, you'd be better off meeting someone in college because once you get out of college, it's going to be a bit of a free for all. People are going to have baggage. The gentleman mentioned it in this piece. People are going to have issues. They're going to be a whole myriad of things that you guys are going to have to navigate and work through. But it'll be easier if you meet someone in college. But again, that was that little bit of advice. But I think by far the majority of us Gen Xers, well, a good number of us were encouraged to worry about that stuff later. Get your education finished, get your degree, get your money up, worry about that stuff later. I think both young men and young women were told that um, in my age group. I mean, were you guys told that? Let me know. I know my father said anytime after 27 is good. Um, MOT has entered the building. Aquateki says, reminds me of the time when my mother asked me if I wanted her to find me a wife. I declined. Interesting, Aquateki. Well, the one theory is that maybe your mother could spot the qualities needed in a wife. Maybe. You know, you guys remember the TV show a couple of years ago? I think it was on. It was either on Lifetime or it was on one of the networks. No, it was on one of the cable stations where parents would pick out uh, they would screen potential spouses for their children. I thought that show was so funny because even if you even if you had mothers and fathers who were divorced for that show, they would come and put their heads together and say, no, I think this would be a good wife for Johnny. No, I think this would be a good wife. I don't like her. I don't like her for this reason. I think she's good. No, I don't like her. So maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something to parents picking for their children. I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? MOT says, I think we are ignoring the culture we are in and hoping for the best for other people. We don't have culture for marriage. Uh, Aquateki says, agree, the older you are, the more set each person is in their ways. Sheet acknowledges MOT. 8 from 1,000 jot. The like also. Sheet, I'm not sure what that means. Aquateki says, I also agree on having children younger because you're healthier and have more energy to keep up with the kids. Uh, Sheet and MOT are greeting each other. Uh, all three of you are greeting each other. Okay. So this next part, and again, everyone, I didn't write this. This is just, again, writers are weathermen and they capture what's happening in society and the world. If they're not writing about it directly, they're writing about it in their fiction or nonfiction. Examples are Dune, examples are Lord of the Rings, examples are um, most of our media is based upon what's happening in the real world. So don't be surprised to see a host of books and movies about this type of thing in the next 10 years because writers are living through this time right now. So their fiction will be based upon this type of thing. Okay, once again, disclaimer, this will probably offend somebody, what I'm going to read next. If you haven't, please hit that like button. You know what? Let me refresh to see because it's stuck on this number. There we go. We're in double digits. All right. All right. Let me wrap this up. Okay, this is going to offend somebody. Another incentive is that women have safer pregnancies in their 20s. There isn't the added urgency to have children as with couples marrying in their 30s either. Young parents also typically make more active parents. Added benefits for men are that they usually gain purpose through marriage. Women gain companionship and hopefully eliminate the need to freeze their eggs for a later time to be determined. So, everyone, for those who are peeking in on this, I shook my head because that's freezing eggs. That's something that's happening now as well. If you are watching some of the content on YouTube, you're hearing a lot about that. Women in their in their early 40s, maybe their mid 40s, maybe their late 30s too, freezing their eggs until such a time when they see fit to try to make use of those eggs. No judgment here if that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. We're in a free society now, but that's a current trend. Now, this piece right here about men and their purpose. Added benefits for men are that they usually gain purpose through marriage. So, is the growing number of men being unwilling to enter the workforce, does this have something to do with that? The the lack of desire or the lack of seeing a benefit of getting married and having a family, is that affecting the mass numbers of young men who are um, willing to stay at home and play video games all day and not get into the workforce? That's something that's surrounding that whole discussion as well. Are all these things interconnected? connected? I suspect they are. Corinne, thank you. She says, "Yeah, make sure you like and share this." And these are conversations that will come up or have come up around the Thanksgiving table and around the Christmas table. These are all things the boomers are looking around and saying, "What's happening? How come people aren't, how come there are no young people running around here?" Well, Corinne, don't forget to tell me. Don't forget to tell me about why you deleted. What was happening on Facebook that was so toxic that you had to delete it? Aquateki says, "LOL, everything offends someone these days." Okay, this is the end of this. Okay, so deciding to marry early doesn't remove the need to plan for the future. Every man should bring some semblance of financial security, commitment, and integrity to the table. Every woman should bring a nurturing heart and a supportive spirit to the relationship. Sometimes it calls for reevaluating your standards regarding what you expect of a mate. Get out of the deep end of the dating pool and try more shallow waters. So as I'm reading that, I'm thinking, okay, so he's saying men have your money right, get your money right, um, be commitment minded, and have integrity. Every woman should bring a nurturing heart and a supportive spirit to the relationship. So the question there, where do those come from? Where does a woman learn those? And are those attributes for women, are those encouraged today? That's an important question. If those are key ingredients for a couple staying together, are those attributes encouraged in younger women today? Or are other things encouraged? On this channel, I ask questions. This channel is about thinking. So some of the answers might be uncomfortable, but I want to make this worthwhile and not just come up here and attack people. And if those values and another question is, who teaches those to women? Being nurturing, having a nurturing heart, and a supportive spirit. Who teaches that? Whose responsibility is it to teach that? This is the final paragraph. Okay. And I think both my parents have kind of hammered this one home, or they've attempted to hammer this one home. Humans were designed for companionship, and men and women function better together. Now, some would argue that. Some would argue that that's not true, that men and women function better together, at least in our modern era. Family and the right friends, those who are in committed relationships, should once again take a vested interest in seeing marriage become great again. Okay. There are, it's been postulated, there's a scientific word, it's been postulated that, well, particularly in the Black community, that once the boomers die off, those that are still married, once they die off, the marriage rate's gonna plummet even further. But while they're still here, I think it's important to ask them how and why, how they were able to make it this far if they've made it this far. I have an acquaintance. That's one of my dad's words. An acquaintance on Instagram who I went to undergrad with, and on Instagram she posted a picture of her parents who were They're married for 40 to 50 years, and she celebrated that. And this is no judgment. She's not married. I don't believe she's married. Well, I did ask her, what's their secret for doing so? And she said, well, I never asked. I'll have to ask them. I always thought that was interesting that she never asked them. So, um, okay. I don't open things up a lot nowadays because I want to keep my content up. And this is me. This is my handsome face. This is so. If you're looking for another job, I don't get paid. I don't make enough off of YouTube and my blogging platforms to sustain myself. So I have a 9 to 5, and just in case I'm looking for a new job, people are looking at your social media. So if someone wants to come and say something, I'll drop the link, keep it PG, keep it cool. Does anyone want to come up and say something about this? This is ScoonTV. That's a cartoon of Curtis right there. That's not Shun Smith. That's not him. Unless Curtis wrote this under the alias of Shun Smith. But that's ScoonTV. I'm going to the link is in the description box below. The link is right here. As of now, it's not behind a paywall, so you can go and read it yourself and keep a copy for yourself. I don't know if Curtis will approve of me reading this, but this will bring more visibility to his platform. Kareen says, I had family members fighting, taking internal family issues online. It was so embarrassing. Members from JMUS England literally going against one another. So Jamaica, the US, and England, these are people who have seen each. Okay, Sheet, I'll hang on for a few more minutes so you can come up and give your expert uh, or reaction and thoughts. Uh, Kareen says, haven't seen each other in years. So cases, decades of fighting for the world to see. I had to come off, couldn't take it anymore. Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, Facebook is a I'm very cautious with Facebook nowadays. I don't. There was a point at which um, I was sharing things from YouTube onto Facebook, and I was getting into all kinds of quarrels with people on Facebook, and I decided I'm not doing that anymore. And then even now, if I see something, I think twice about sharing it over there. So, I don't want to steal anyone's peace. I don't want to get involved in unnecessary dust ups. So I'm very cautious about Facebook as well. So Kareem, yeah, there's a lot of that goes on. A lot of personal business gets aired because your Facebook friends are usually people you know. They're usually your relatives. They're usually your close friends. They're usually you have to be careful about letting coworkers in your Facebook network. So these are people who are usually close to you. Now the other thing you have to be careful about people tagging you in things. Sometimes people tag you in things and you don't know. Sheed, here's the link. Sometimes people tag you in things on Facebook and you don't know that you've been tagged. And then you have this guilt by association thing. So I've actually enabled the feature on Facebook where if someone tags me in something I have to approve it. So if you tag me in something, it shouldn't go right up onto my Facebook profile, because that's dangerous, because you don't know what people are doing, you don't know why they're doing it, and there's a guilt by association thing with social media. Oh, you're involved with this, you're involved in that, and you just never know. And everyone, be careful of what you're caught on camera saying, because those things will end up online too. Sometimes you're on it might be after hours, it might be casually talking amongst friends, and someone's got a camera running, and the next thing you know, boom, it's online. So be careful. Aquateki, thank you for the generous cash app. I always appreciate all the support that you give me. I appreciate that. I'm a small YouTuber, so any support is appreciated. Is you guys looking forward to the holidays? You guys looking forward to Christmas, the New Year? Does anyone have big plans? Are you all happy for this time of year? Do you dread this time of year? I'm just waiting for Sheed to free up. Sheed, the link is right there. Oh, there he is. Let's see what the great Sheed has to say about any of this.
All right.
What's going on, Sheed?
So, what's going on? Getting into the situation with the marriage. That's what a couple of things. I thought about with getting married was trying to get married young. For the simple fact is, you know, seeing so many relationships go through things and ups and downs. I think my uncle was married to his wife about, want to say, ooh, probably 10 years before he got a divorce. And the thing of it was, with both of them being married so young, they were able to bounce back and, have a relationship, still with another significant other, because both of them were, still young. They still had their looks and everything. She found another man and he found another woman and everything was okay. So that's a good quality for marrying young. And then another one is, basically for the kids. You're able to spend more time with them and, do a lot of things with kids at a young age. Tending to get into the older age, is rough on the body, because say the least, I've been out of high school for over 20 years. I went back up to the wrestling mat to wrestle with those guys. And that's a whole nother, workout within itself if you don't do that every day, you know. So, even with Charles, he works out, he's a coach. So my coaches that I know, they work out with the kids every day. So that's mainly good for them. But with me, just doing minor little small things here and there, do a little walking, doing a little push-ups and sit-ups is nothing compared to a full body workout. So, that's a couple of things, what got me into a situation of wanting to get married early. And two, kind of, build more wealth as well, because, I've always looked at two is better than one. As far as my income, if I make 10,000, she make 20,000. We got 30,000. If I make 20,000, she got 10,000. Once again, we make 20,000. You know, when it comes down to dividing the things, you gotta considerate the bills and stuff. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, Toya, thank you for stopping through. It's always good to see you as well. Thank you for the generous super sticker. Before you go on, you know what? I was also thinking about well, I think a lot of people might be feeling the crunch of this now, but buying homes separately and individually, I don't know that we were meant to buy houses individually. I mean, you're a lot of your messages are financial. A lot of Alonzo's messages are financial, but one of the things that sometimes you just get these epiphanies. I have a mortgage on my condo unit here, but it's a different thing to take two incomes to do it versus having to qualify for that mortgage on your own. So we were all kind of socialized to kind of do things on our own, get our own stuff first, and then combine them later. So I just wanted to throw that in there. That's just a thought I had.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the big things. I was talking to this young guy. He has a condo. His girlfriend has a condo, and I convinced him to keep his condo, and they go buy a house together and just rent the condos, each of their condos out. And I told him to start thinking about passive income because I'm like, you're getting married. He's about 32. I think she's about 28. So both of them, he has his own business. She works for a company, and both of them make pretty decent money. So that was one of the things I related to him, and he was like, it started off as a struggle with him owning that condo because he didn't make a lot of money. He worked for a company until he started working for himself and he started seeing the money, you know. And his girl, she went into her field. She pretty much makes a decent amount of money. And say the least, if you don't have a lot of money, it's the qualifying for a house pretty much, even with credit, is out of the question. So a lot of people tend to, think that home buying is never an option until you actually, like I say, put those incomes together. I mean, without a doubt, you can have the money, but if your credit don't match, you're not getting qualified. Or you can have the credit without the money, you're not getting qualified. So, some people, who get blessed to have both and, decent income, you're able to qualify for that house. And it would be a easier, move if you had that extra income there. Because, let's say you're delegating $1,500 a month for a mortgage. Being able to just pay $1,500 for mortgage and possibly pay like the insurance about $600, and then you turn around and the wife she take care of all the small bills, or vice versa. However, who makes the most money, do it that way. And look how much money you will have left over, with getting married. And so that's always been a big thing for me to look at, like I said, that two is better than one type deal, because even with that, you will have money to set aside to invest, take trips. On average, a lot of people want to, especially with women. I mean, I don't want to get on the women like that, but my wife, she loves taking trips. You know, we try to do like two big trips a year and then try to do a lot of small trips because with her, she says it's good for her mental health and, taking trips like that, get the getaway thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm in, I'm okay. I'm in agreement with it. But the thing of it is, working hard and being dedicated because, to a degree, we've heard the numbers how men, so-called outpace women as far as financially, and I ain't gonna say the names, but it's not because men just make more money than women all the time. It's that men outwork women majority of the time. Because my wife, she rarely works overtime.
Hmm.
We talked about this before with you. Me having a 9 to 5 and working my 5 to 9. So my grind don't stop until I'm ready to go home. I probably sometime on my second runs where I'm doing something, I might stay out to 11, sometime 12 o'clock at night to get the job done, and then I
Yeah.
have to get back up at anywhere from 5 to 8 and still go back in. So I'm getting anywhere from 5 to maybe 7 hours of sleep. But then my income, when I started to see, my pockets coming together, I have way more money. I said this one time with one of my friends that my wife would never outwork me, and his girlfriend took offense to that, and she was like, "What, you have an issue with a woman making more money than you?" I said, "No, I just know she'll never outwork me because I work more hours than her and I work harder than her." And so that's when she really understood because it wasn't more of a, you know, I can't deal with a woman that makes more money than me. It's just my grind and the way I move. It's just in general.
Hmm. Hey, Sheet, I want to say that what you said starting off about traveling and taking trips. First of all, I think taking vacations and getting out of the mouse wheel and getting out of the grind, that's important. It's healthy. and it's necessary. But what I will say is, I will second what you said, is that in general, from my experience, for the opposite gender, taking trips and getting experiences, that rates high on the priority list. Maybe even higher than for us. So that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's just that's valued. That's highly valued. The other thing I want to say, and Sheet, I think this comes out in a lot of your content and what you just said. Marriage is a business. In my family, as a business and a wealth building tool, I didn't hear about that until my mid to late 20s from an African buddy. And I still remember we were sitting on the express bus going home, and he talked about marriage as a wealth building tool. I mean, all I heard about, I mean, there was a lot of divorce in my family. So that's kind of what I knew about marriage and my dad's stories and all those things. But there are couples, there are families who look at it as a wealth building tool, and they use it as a wealth building tool. And part of that is, as you described, uh, you know, putting your funds together. One person paid the mortgage, and then you use the rest of the money for um, other things. But you have to. I think the trick is you have to put your minds together and form a team, which isn't easy to do today.
Yeah, definitely sure.
And it was my mentor, one of my mentors, who actually introduced the principle to me of saving one of your incomes for a year. So moving in together, or getting married, saving one of your incomes, living off of one of the incomes and saving the rest, so that you have 100K, so that you have a year's worth of expenses for the both of you in the bank. Okay. For that, you need both people to see the logic in it. You need both people to buy in. And you also need delayed gratification for that. And that's not easy for a lot of people to do. But you have to have that vision, and then you have to be able to execute the vision.
Yeah, and a lot of people, say the least, you can't work with everybody. I mean, some women will be self-gain as well as men. When it come down to it, it's more of a beneficial factor because men, they always say that we're the protectors and the providers. So when it come down to it, if a man sits there and does things, he want a return, on his investment. Same thing with the women, but to a degree, if they're with a man, they're wanting a return on their investment. Say, well, if I'm cooking, if I'm cleaning, I'm with this man and I'm helping him along, what am I getting out of return as well? And men, we tend to, think to a degree a lot of stuff that we need, but then we got to look at the other parties involved too, because if that woman isn't happy of what certain things that we garner, that holds the conversation for us to sit down and talk about it. And a lot of people, to a degree, in some spaces, the man is, the last say so. He lays down the law, and I get that. But how can you elevate yourself and living in a house like that with a woman where she has no say to a degree? Me and my wife talk all the time. There's input in the business. There's input into, a lot of different things that come up in our life. If one of us have to take off, with me making majority of the money more, and if it comes down to it, I have to take off, I take off. But I normally don't like taking off from work because I like keeping my vacation times when it's really needed for moments of vacation or urgent moments. And we have those discussions. you know and then coming into situations as far as finance, let's say she wants to go buy a Birkin bag. I think those bags started like 50,000 or some, or 20,000. And I tell her no, and we don't have the conversation. and she doesn't have an understanding that this Birkin bag is a material thing that might, you might lose it or it gets stolen or something happens to this bag for $20,000. Or we can take this 20,000, invest in a vacation that's memorable, or take it and pay off some bills that can, further us to paying off our loans. I just me and Alonzo talked. There's a program that I just got introduced to. It's like a payoff app. What's the name of it? Something planner. Hold on. It's called Debt Payoff Planner, and it's an app. I got actually introduced to it through a loan officer that's a friend of mine, and the guy was trying to sell me this program that the developer actually came up with, and someone took his program and actually made it an app. So with that app, you log into it, and it basically tells you like a certain length of time of how long that you'll be able to pay your debt off, and how much interest you'll save on on a house, or you have student loans and all that over the course of years. So that's one of the things that I just found out. I think it was October or November. So I'm about to implement that into our finances going into the new year. And so I'm like, if this thing does what it does, it just be even more money for me to garner further in business. And my wife, we sat down and talked about it, and she listened, and we had both, like I said, the meeting of the minds, to where if I come to you with something that's reasonable and understanding, same as her. If she came to me with this program, I will look at it and I say, okay, let me do my research on it. Oh, this is a valuable thing. Let's go ahead and implement this into our system. If you have somebody that don't not on the same page, it's not going to work, because she wouldn't want to spend extra money towards paying the mortgage off when she can go get a BMW. My wife to this day, she just finally realized she didn't want a BMW after her cousin had one for years, and just told her about the maintenance and stuff. Like I told her, I said, Infinities and Lexus, all those are nice cars, but the maintenance is not as much as for BMW. The BMW and all these other cars are more status symbols. They break down a lot. Did my research. Porsche has one of the cars that don't break down as much. They have little, little ends of things out with every car. But like I told my wife, I said, if we save, we can get a nice Porsche, and that can be your luxury car that you've always wanted. I said, but it's not going to be a right now car. That's going to be something in the future, you know.
A quick trivial fact about BMWs. The I had to take a tire off one time, and I forget what it was. There was something about it that the mechanism was different than it was on all the cars that I had. So I had a hard time taking that tire off. But that's just an aside. That's interesting. So the maintenance on the luxury vehicles is more than your regular average Joe vehicles. Um,
Yeah.
Salchi says the fact is the average income taxpayer's income range is $42,184 to roughly $77,000 per year, while the average total household expenditure is roughly $62,000 per year. I think, wow, I think that means that some households are overspending, if I'm interpreting that correctly. I gotta wrap this up shortly because I'm doing a double header. Um, quick quick side note, everyone. Yesterday in my office, I tweeted this. One of the custodians, she came to me. She said, "Have you heard that we're supposed to be getting less government refunds, for 2022?" And I said, yes, I have. So we're living through some things right now. I'm saying that to say, Salchi, I don't think he has a channel here on YouTube, but on Instagram, he shares a lot of important economic facts and figures. She talks money on his channel. Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor, they go hard in the paint for the insurance pretty regularly. So yeah, folks, if you're not paying attention to some of these things, pay attention. Pay attention. She, do you want to say anything else before we um wrap up?
Yeah, I want to close out a little bit with the HBCU thing with Dion. You know, ultimately, I had my kind of drags about it wasn't more or less with him leaving because he did what he said he was going to do. He brought the
Uh-huh.
kids to the schools. He changed the school around. And to me, he's more like the Diddy right now of coaching. He's going more on a promotional run with schools because he's bringing the wins, but he's also bringing that celebrity status to these schools as well. Because I mean, look at Colorado. They just blatantly came out and said we don't have the money to pay him, but I guarantee we'll get the money
Mm,
because what comes with Dion is that status, the fundraising and people, celebrities wanting to donate. I mean, ticket sales were through the roof at Jackson, say the least. And there was some things going on. Don't really want to get into it about that with Jackson and Dion, but for the most part, he just set out what he was going to do. And Dion is not the head of the HBCU. They already said he's not the head of what's called SWAT. So, in my opinion, who's going to pick up the mantle? Because let alone, I'm just going to be brief with this one too. What's the guy? Umar was talking about how Dion is doing this and doing that. And my thing to everybody who commented about Dion, unless you donating to a HBCU, unless you went to a HBCU, you really don't have no dog in the fight. And then again, too, with what are the other topic I was gonna say? Well, I'm just gonna let it in with that. I mean, just for the most part, if you didn't really go to a HBCU and you're trying to, push throw Dion up under the bus, I mean, this says the least. You don't even have a dog in the fight because what have you contribute to a HBCU but for the love of the school versus, helping the school out? Those schools need funding. We can love the schools, talk about them all day, but without the funding, they will cease to exist. And I'm gonna end with that.
yeah. Oh, she, before you go, I joked. I put a joke in your chat. I think it was yesterday morning. Eddie Robinson Jr.'s comment about Dion not being swag had me rolling. He's not swag. He's not one of us. And Dion had a gander of that too. So, but yeah, to your latter point, I've attended one. My bachelor's degree is from Johnson C. Smith University, and I served as the treasurer for our local DC alumni chapter for the last. I finally came off, but I was on that volunteer position for the last 6 to 7 years. So when you're on the executive board of your alumni chapter, you hear things about the school. And yeah, uh, um, after writing about this and interviewing some people about it, yeah, HBCUs need money. I mean, we can talk about where the money needs to come from. I don't think our alumni give back as much as they should. But yeah, they're celebrated, they're historic, but don't believe everything you see. Okay, everything is not rosy at our HBCUs. Even our flagship HBCU, Howard. If you, I might get in trouble for this, but even if you talk to some of the Howard students and you hear about what's going on there, it doesn't sound rosy. So that's my 2 cents on that. So she, yeah, we need to huddle up at some point again and talk about you and Alonzo talk about insurance and the money side of things because I think people need to hear some more about that.
Yeah, that's cool. We can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay.
All right.
And thank you for coming up, Sheep.
No problem. All right.
And Salchi, this is interesting what you said here. This might get us in trouble. The Biden administration has increased income taxes across the board. So, yeah, folks. So for 2022, don't be surprised if you pay more. All this stuff, I'm not going to go into detail, but all this stuff has to be paid for somehow. And there are shortfalls all over the place. Salchi, maybe we could talk about that once tax season starts, because once the holiday season ends, tax season starts. It's like clockwork. Tax season, the Super Bowl, Valentine's Day, uh, summer, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, the holiday season. It's like a clock every year. It goes around like this. So tax season is up next. So you're going to start seeing all kinds of commercials for getting your taxes done. So Salty, maybe we can talk about what to expect for our 2022 taxes. Okay, so we'll do that. All right, everyone. Just a quick recap. I discussed this article today. This is from the Scoon TV website, and this was to continue on the theme of a changing world that I started with Ron Wills. Well, it started with Ron Wills, and just taking a look around and saying and asking what's going on today, what's happening in our country, in our world, and why are we seeing some of the things that we're seeing. This link is in the description box below. This is not behind a paywall as of yet. Curtis did not put this behind a paywall, so you can read the link for yourself and save it for yourself. And also, I actually wrote something for Curtis and ScoonTV myself a couple of years ago regarding the jab. It's still live. So if you want to read this, the link is here. Over on my science channel, I'll probably take a short break. I think I was going to start it at noon, but I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to have a discussion on whether or not we still need these, whether or not these are going to come back. There's talk in the news that we are in a tridemic right now with the C-19 and the influenza. So are we going to need these again in the near future? People in DC are still wearing them, especially on the metro. So that's what I'm going to talk about over on my science channel. Big discussion 76 Science and Technology. It'll be a short stream. Once again, if you're new, let's see. Aquateki says this is around the time that the IRS starts publishing the new tax schedules and forms. Salchi, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Your channel is grossly underrated. Yeah, man. I wanna turn this into a information hub and a thought center, and I'm waiting on this book. It's gonna get delivered today. I'm waiting on this book right now, and I'll be reading this over the holiday break. Men without work. Why are so many prime age young men not working? And I want to interview this gentleman as well, Nicholas Eberstadt of AEI. I think that's the American Education Institute, but I'm waiting on this book right now. I think I might have just heard something drop outside my door. So I'm looking forward to this. So if you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to make a donation, my Cash App and PayPal are here. Thank you to Toya for the super sticker. You can also leave a super thanks if you're watching this on the playback. Please consider joining my newsletter. I'm going to send one out with the downtime that I have for this over this holiday season. There's a 2-paragraph greeting. There. And then you just scroll to the bottom and click that subscription button. You enter in your email address there. And I promise I won't give your information away to a third party. The link is in the description box. But it is also right here. And if there's any difficulty with it, you can also email me at right there, Big Words, bwllcnl@gmail.com. If there's any issues with the form. All right, everyone, I'm going to wrap up. For those of you watching on the playback, or for those of you who just came in at the end and you want to go back to the beginning, there was a technical issue with StreamYard. I got the spinning circle on my window here, and then on the article I was trying to bring up, so that we had spinning circles, and then over on YouTube there was a spinning circle. So I'm going to try to edit that out once the broadcast becomes permanent on YouTube. But if you're watching on the playback now, there'll be a little buffering thing early on. It booted me out of the studio, so I had to go back into the studio and resume. So everyone, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'm gonna do something on my STEM channel, Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology, shortly. Always looking for more subs over there. And with that, I'll wrap up. Everyone, thank you again. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude, and always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.